welcome back to Russ Plays Games. My name is Russ, and as you can see, we are sitting back in front of the paint station. And today, I'm gonna paint this portion of the Osgiliath scenery pack. I bought this from Games Workshop, last year, I believe it was. Towards the end of last year. So I've had this about a year now. Or it was at the beginning of this year. It was one of the two. And so, point is, I've had it for a while, and I'm trying to figure out. Like, I was trying to figure out, like, how am I going to paint it? What am I going to do with it? So I was trying to figure out, like, what am I going to do? And so I kind of sat down and I kind of went through some of the different techniques that I've used and different things. And as you can see, there's a lot of like scroll work on the front of it, and there's a lot of nooks and crannies. And this portion up here on top is a wooden platform. The other one that I painted, and I don't have it, I'll get it for in between the videos, so I can kind of show it off. It had a stone, and it's got like a main doorway, and then it's got like a smaller doorway on the side, but it's got like two stone platforms. And then I'll get the other parts, and I'll show you what Games Workshop did with this scenery pack, because I actually have the parts of it that are basically this Osgiliath scenery pack, and then there's another portion of it that is, it's wild. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. It is effing wild. So basically, what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna go over how I painted this, because I actually found Agrax Earthshade. So now that I have that, because this is my old bottle that's empty now, you can actually see that it's empty. Because I used it on the other piece. I needed more. They finally got it in. It's right here. Okay? So it's about damn time. That's all I'm going to say. Alrighty, so here's what we're going to do. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to grab our dark gray. And the reason why we're going to grab dark gray, I'm just going to, is because we're going to paint the stones in the dark gray. Okay? And it's not so important to, like keep all of the shadow and all of the black and all of that kind of stuff. It's really not that important right now, because we're going to cover this later in the Agrax Earthshade. Okay? And that's going to go in, and that's going to kind of highlight a lot of those parts for us. And it's going to highlight it nice and deep. And this is going to kind of be a, if you want to see more of this, then you're probably going to need to let me know if this is something that is interesting to you. I know that there's a lot of people online that do terrain tutorials and various things nowadays. Like Eric's Hobby Workshop is probably one of the most famous examples of that. That guy is absolutely phenomenal at what he does with terrain. And I would recommend that if you want, like, if you're just into it and you just want to watch somebody build terrain, there's him. There's also Luke Towan of Boulder Creek Railroad fame. He does a lot of terrain stuff, which you could easily adapt into gaming paraphernalia. So there's a lot there, but it's not. Um, yeah, it's something that I'm probably not going to do a whole lot of. This is going to be something that I'm doing right now because, well, I've featured some portions of this particular thing, and now that Games Workshop has sort of re-released it with a couple of new bits, let's put it that way. You know, it's probably something that people are gonna buy, even if it's not just for. Because I mean, you can use this for um, Warlord. You could use this for Sega. You could use this for. There's a ton of games out there that you could use this for. So it's not just. I mean, it's not just something that you would buy necessarily just for the loader or Middle Earth strategy battle game. So if you wanted to have, you know, some terrain that is fairly inexpensive. I mean, this stuff is actually not that bad considering what you get in it. And considering that what I paid for this particular terrain, and like how much that actually kind of cost in the long run, this is actually not that bad. So, and if you're not into actually making terrain using certain things, then this might be an option for you. Okay. Just because it's ready made and it is absolutely phenomenal plastic, and you can see that it's just Games Workshop gray plastic. I mean, that's all it is, and you can see that I didn't even paint the whole entire thing black. I mean, there's a few parts that I left gray. Just because I just didn't feel the need to go in and try to paint the whole damn thing. So it's however you want to do it. You know, I mean, again, like, you know, Bob Ross has said, like a bunch of other people have said, it's your world. You paint it how you want it. So if you look at something that I'm doing and you go, that looks dumb, I'm not going to do that, go do you, man. It's not that big of a deal. It really is not. And no one's gonna be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you did that." No, I mean, if anything, people are gonna be, you know, surprised and ecstatic that you actually painted the terrain the way you did. Just because that's just kind of the way it works most of the time when you have like terrain and stuff like that. And I'm having a little bit of an issue right now because it has been extremely cold here where I live, and yeah, I can't, um, put on my normal customary layer of matte varnish. So yeah, that sucks. Because I think it has to be like 50 degrees or something, and it's been down in the 30s and 40s. And so I believe the particular Krylon matte varnish that I use is that way, which is fairly typical of most matte varnishes. It's not going to be like, oh, look, hey, you know, here's a cold weather varnish. No, it's varnishes usually require about a 50 degree About 50 degrees to work properly, just because it's how it. Just because of how it works. Once I get doing this, once I get done doing this, we will do the planking in brown, just to kind of build up the layer. And then, I should say to start building up the layer. And then, we're going to go through and make a whole transition once we get all the shade on, because we will put the Seraphim Sepia tone on our on the brown portion of it, and then we will put Agarax on all of the stone. And like I said, in between, I will go get the other piece because I forgot to bring it with me. But I'll go get the other. Actually, I'll go get all the other pieces, I should say, that will make this terrain, the new terrain set that the Games Workshop is doing, and just kind of show you, like, here's what they did. Like, it's kind of random. Like, I was sitting there going, what in the world, Games Workshop? Like, I already own those. Like, I'm actually kind of glad that I bought this the way that I did, because otherwise I would have probably been disappointed, just because it's like, well, wait a minute. I already own that stuff. Why would I need more of it? And granted, some people would say, well, but I mean, it's like more terrain stuff, man. Why wouldn't you? Well, problem is, it's more stuff to paint. Okay, and I don't need more stuff to paint. I got a ton of stuff, man. The thing is, I pretty much almost painted every single terrain piece I've gotten. Not ones I've bastardized from other sets. But if you're, and this is something that, it's not just something that you can do for just the GW scenery. Okay, this is actually something that you could do with pretty much any scenery that you have. So it's not, that big of a deal. thing is, you're probably gonna get painty and dirty doing this kind of stuff too, so just don't worry about it. We just gotta get all this paint on here. Get it in all the nooks and crannies. And like I said, there's a reason why I'm using this darker one. And I know it doesn't seem darker, but it is the darker of the two. And that's because to build up a lot of the layers and to make the newer, to make the build up some age on some of this stone and various things, and I'll show you what I mean by that when I pull out the other when I pull out the other piece, I'll show you some of the stuff that I've done that has kind of contributed to that. And what I'll probably end up doing is I'm going to show you, I'm probably going to put a second layer on because as you can kind of tell, some of it isn't really going on very thick, and it's fine because it's a very thin paint. But I am going to want that color to be as solid as possible, so I'm probably going to put one more layer on it just to kind of get it up to where it's supposed to be. But I am going to show you what color we're going to paint what color we will paint the wood piece on the top here. When we get to that, I will show you how we're going to paint that and what we're going to do with it. I'm almost there. And if you have any green stuff, sometimes if you have some little gaps here and there, you can use that green stuff to fill in those gaps. I don't have any green stuff at the moment, and I don't have any way to really buy any or get any, so I'm going to have some gaps in mine that are just going to be there. So it's just the way it is. But I did kind of stick it down with a lot of Mod Podge. And I filled in a lot of places with that Mod Podge just to kind of build up the strength of this particular piece. So what I'll do is I'll show you. So if I pick this up and we kind of look in the very, very corner of it, it's kind of hard to see. Let me just 1 second grab. You can kind of see way down deep in there. You can see that big hole, okay? And you can kind of see the light coming through. Basically, what that is there's a big gap where the two pieces meet, and then like when I glued it together, the one piece went like this, okay? And so the piece sitting on top sits in, and then the piece sitting in, and then the wall, there's like the way that it comes in, the wall kind of like comes in like this, and so there's a bit of a gap in there, okay? So there's like, because it's like the wall kind of like sits like this, and the piece kind of sits like this. So there's like a gap like that in it, okay? Where this part sits is out here, and so there's like a gap. So like this is the flat piece, this is the wall, and where they meet, there's the gap goes like this, okay? So there's like a triangular gap in there, okay? And there's also a little bit of a gap up here at the top, and really that's kind of where that went, and you can kind of tell from looking at it that it's not a straight on, like, you can tell that the wall's actually sitting about like so, okay? So like the wall's not sitting at 90 degrees, it's more sitting at about 85. So yeah, it's not exactly perfect. Let's put it that way. And so basically what I'm doing right now is I'm saying that if you have some green stuff and if you have the artistic ability to be able to do it, you could stick some green stuff in there. Green stuff is just basically a two-part epoxy that you can stick into little gaps on miniatures, on scenery, on various things, and it just helps to create a little bit more of a, set part, set piece for it. But I'm not that artistic, and like I said, I don't have a whole lot of money, so right now I don't have any way to do anything like that. So yeah, that kind of sucks. Um, but I think what I'll probably do is here in a couple minutes is I'll switch over to the I'll switch over to the Agarax Earthshade and the other color, and I will show you what we're going to do. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back. I'm going to finish this off camera, and then I will do that, and I will let it dry. So that when we come back, you will see how dulled down it is, and you will see just what it looks like. And that way you'll be able to go, oh, okay, I see what you're saying now. And then, when we come back, we will do some dry brushing, and we will do some various things to make this into a wonderful little diorama set. Because I don't think I'm going to get through this whole entire thing. And I want to be done by about 30 minutes for the half of the episode, and then that way we can come back and the second half, and then you can actually see what we're going to do with it. Because this part, I mean, I know I've been talking most of the time, but basically it's literally been me sitting here just kind of talking and painting gray. That's about it. And so it's probably time to switch up the colors and then to kind of show you what we're going to do with the Agarax Earthshade and why I needed the Agarax Earthshade for this project. And the reason why is because Nuln Oil, so Agarax Earthshade is sort of a brownish black wash, whereas Nuln Oil is a straight black wash, okay? And so it's very, let's just say it's very dark compared to what we want, okay? We just don't want it to be that dark, okay? We'd rather it not be that dark. So, let me So let me go ahead, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna switch over to the brown, and basically on this color, we're using the melted chocolate. So this is the really, really deep dark brown. And the reason for that is because we're going to use it as our base color. Okay. And what we want to do, again, like with the gray, we want to put this color really deep into the recesses of the wood. Because again, what we're going to end up doing is we're going to end up basically building up the color from darkest to lightest. Okay. And so we want this color to be down in the recesses. We want this color to be the darkest, the deepest color in the recesses of our wood. Okay. And again, I'm probably going to throw on a second coat just to kind of, show you what, what it's going to look like. Or, before we do the whole thing. So I'm probably going to just like coat this thing a couple of times. So after the first layer dries, I will make sure to layer in the second coat so that you can kind of see where the deep parts are, and you can kind of understand what it's going to look like when we get to the shading part of it. Because we do want that shade to look nice and deep and rich, but we don't want it to look, so bad. Just checking the time. We got time. And the reason why I painted the black underneath, right up kind of almost to the edge, and why I did that is because I wanted these beams to be wood underneath, but and that was kind of my whole point with this, was to make sure that those beams looked like wood underneath. Okay, because these beams are the support structure, and not that anybody's going to turn this thing over and be like, oh my god, you didn't actually paint that? What the hell, man? Again, nobody's going to do that, because honestly, they're not going to, it's like, and if they do, you can just tell them, fuck you. Like, this is my world. I can paint whatever I want to paint. If I don't want to paint the whole freaking bottom of this thing, I'm not going to paint the whole freaking bottom of it. Who are you to tell me what I can and can't do in my world? So here's what we're gonna do. I'll let that dry for a minute. So on our front piece here, okay, and I know this is kind of not, it doesn't have everything on it, but basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna cover everything, but we're gonna pay particular attention to these deeper recesses. Okay, we wanna get that shade up inside. Okay, and we want that shade to be down deep in those recesses. Okay, we want pools of that shade deep in those recesses. Okay, and the reason being is that when we get done, okay, painting everything with this Agrax Earth shade, okay, everything's going to have a nice and dulled down texture to it. Okay, and like all of these little pieces of it will have this beautiful deep line to it. Okay, so we want it to look like that. Okay, and you can kind of see that we're getting way down deep inside those grooves. Okay, and then the same thing on the wood. Up here, we want to take that Seraphim Sepia and we want to do the same thing. We want to get each of these little grooves and on the wood and like these deep pools that sit the front of the wood there, we want to get right up in here to get kind of down deep. Okay, and then we're going to want to and so we're going to end up, you know, painting this whole thing. This is kind of why I went back over it a little bit with the with that second coat, is because I wanted to kind of show you that that's what we're looking for. Okay, so we're getting deep inside these grooves. We're getting each individual one, and you can see that the boards are becoming more defined rather than less defined. Okay, that's what we're going for. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to finish the stonework with the gray. I'm going to finish the woodwork with the brown, and then I'm going to shade everything. Okay? So when we come back, like I said, for you, it'll be less than a second, but for me, it will have been a little while. So we will see you in less than a second. And we're back. So as you can see, I have put the shade on everywhere, and I painted up the top, and everything's looking good now, nice and dulled down. So let me show you what was in the Osgiliath Ruins pack. So there was this portion, okay. There was this portion, which is a staircase with a small little platform, okay. And if you're wondering, I did this one a little different because I put on Nuln Oil or Agrax, I can't remember which, And I went back and like painted the really whitish gray, the lighter gray, this one, all over it, and left the recesses really dark, which is why it looks the way it does. It doesn't look as good as the other ones. And this is the main centerpiece of the ruin set. And so you have a main arch, you have two windows, and then you have a small window here, and then this doorway here, meant to evoke the fact that that this is kind of the main entranceway to something. And then this is the backside, and as you can see, there's like a little platform here where you can actually set a miniature, okay, and they can actually shoot through the window, and then you have a door that you can actually fight. There's rules that you fight on a door. And then this is what I was talking about before, is you have a stone up here on top, okay? And so this is what I mean by I dry brush this thing. So the top, so I did this whole thing in Agrax Earthshade. And then just around the bottom, and you can kind of see right here, just around the bottom, I actually went in and I took the Nuln Oil and I just kind of did the bottom just to make it kind of grimy, okay? Then I went back and I dry brushed most of it. There's a few spots I haven't hit yet, like you can see over here. And then also down below these windows, I also put a little bit of the Nuln Oil kind of coming down, like they'd thrown some stuff out of the windows. And so the Ruins pack also came with this statue and this statue, okay? And they're just hollow plastic, okay? Both of them. And so what you're supposed to do is you set up, like, this is kind of like the back side of it, and then this is like the other side, like this, and then this sits kind of in the front so that you have like a courtyard, okay? And then you have these two statues that kind of go in the courtyard. And that's kind of how that's how they had it set up on the picture, okay? Now, in the original box sets for the Two Towers and the Fellowship of the Ring, okay, the first two sets that were released for Lord of the Rings strategy battle game, had these little plastic ruins that just slotted together, and they were just real thin plastic ruins that they just slotted together, and they just sat on the thing. And one had a door, and then it had a little platform up above, a little wooden platform like this up above, okay. And then the other two were just low walls, and they were just meant to be line of sight blockers, right? They were just meant to be, or barriers where you could fight over. In the Return of the King boxed set, I didn't get a set of those plastic ruins. In fact, I don't even think those plastic ruins exist, because in every single Lord of the Rings Return of the King boxed set that I've ever seen, this is the only thing that they have. They have an upright statue, okay, that is an absolute piece of shit, okay? And that might be in the new set. I didn't bring it with me, but it might be in the new set. But they do have this in the new set, which is one of the statues. It's the actual statue that comes in the box, broken. Okay, laying on the ground, broken. Okay, so this comes in. This comes in. This with this now. Okay, so there's that, and then you get this little pile of rubble with a spear and an axe. Okay, and I painted this up to look like Boromir's shield, and then the spear looks like a Rohan spear, and this looks like one of Gimli's axes, or it might be a Rohan axe. So I painted that up, and then this is like a pillar, like a ruined pillar, okay. And so I can't remember if it's this one or it could be this one. but it's one of these two comes with this set, okay? And so, like, I'm not sure if they took a look at their stuff and went, huh, you know, we have a bunch of this old, like, Return of the King stuff laying around. Maybe we should do this. Who knew? I have no idea. So basically, what we're going to do is now, one of the things that you want to be careful of when you're doing dry brushing like this, okay, is dry brushing is very much an art, because if you have too much paint on your brush, okay, when you put it on, it tends to kind of muddy. It tends to kind of muddy the detail. It really tends to kind of push paint where you don't want it to go. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of show. That's kind of what we're looking for. Okay, where what we're getting is we're getting we want to pick the detail out, but we don't want so much paint that it's going to clog the detail. Okay. Because what we want to do is we want to highlight some of this detail, okay, but we don't want to do so much of it that we end up destroying the illusion. And I did a little bit too heavy there, so I screwed that up, but that's okay. Now, you're going to screw up every once in a while anyway. It's just a fact of life, okay? And if you find that you're not getting much detail, then go up and down, okay? And if, like me, you get a little bit too much paint, then just kind of go back and, let it go. Because what you want to do is, what you're looking for here is, you are looking what we want is we want to pick out the details, okay, without too much interference from the actual paint itself, okay. Because we want the detail, okay. What we don't want is to clog it. What I mean by clogging the detail is that you end up erasing it because of because you can kind of see now where we've lightened it and where it's still dark. Okay, so like over here it is still dark, but here we've lightened it up. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. And what we want to do is we're going to dip our brush pretty heavily, and then we're going to use the palette to kind of clean off as much of that paint as possible, okay, before we come down to this, okay. And then what we want to do is we just want to run this back and forth like this, okay. We just want to kind of run it because we want to highlight most of the detail work on this, okay. There's all these little bits and edges and bobs and stuff that we want to hit with our but we don't want to do too much because again we want to clog that detail. Okay, so we want it to show up, but we don't want it to be so prominent that we are erasing that shade that we put down. Okay, so you can kind of see where we are coming with this detail work. Okay. And then when we're kind of running out of stuff, and then we're going to go back in, we're going to pick up a little bit more paint, and then we're going to come back just like this. Okay? And what we're doing then is we are creating that artificial highlight that we want. Okay. It's not so important down here because on the top there's not a lot of detail work, but we can try to get as much of it as we possibly can if necessary, because we want to hit, like I said, we want to get as much of that detail work as we possibly can. Okay, and if we start to run out of paint and we start to realize that we don't have much else that we're going to be getting on the brush, then we'll then we come back in here, pick up a little bit more, and then we put it on our palette. But you can kind of see where we're coming along with that. So if we show it and then we show over here, you can see the difference. Okay, where all that detail now is really highlighted, whereas over here it's still kind of in shadow. Okay, and that's what we want. We want that detail. That's what we're looking at. This one's going to be a little heavy. Yeah, screw that one up. Ugh. Okay. There's really not much to say. because what we're doing is fairly easy. And under here, under the archway, it's not critically important that everything gets, done, because honestly, it's in shadow, so it's not that big of a deal. So, if you don't spend a lot of time, or if you're like, just don't really want to do a ton of it, this is not like so important that it's gonna be like, oh my god, you missed that? How are you thinking? I mean, honestly, as long as it looks okay, nobody's gonna care. Because again, it doesn't have to look 100%. Took me a long time to perfect this technique. Trust me, this is not something that you're gonna do in the first time. You're not gonna be able to just do it and then go, oh wow, look, I did it, yay! Yeah, no, you're gonna spend a ton of time, getting paint everywhere, and you're gonna clog up the details the first few times. It will happen, trust me. It's not fun, but just go back over it, try it again with some new paint. Okay. And just don't throw a hissy fit. Don't come into my comment section and be like, you told me that if I followed your techniques. No, it's gonna happen. Trust me. It happened to me plenty of times, okay? So trust me when I tell you that it will happen to you. Okay? But once you know this technique and you're able to replicate it, then you're going to be able to use it fairly quickly to do things. Okay? So, let me. Okay, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. Now, one thing you can do, because I know I'm running out of time here. One of the things that you can do after you get done with doing this particular portion of it, okay, is if you want, you can actually is you can come back over with like a white or like your linen, and you can do another dry brush and it'll make it nice and easy. Okay, it'll shine it up pretty nice. Now, in terms of doing a highlight, actually I think I'm going to do it this way. Damn it. Thought I had it. Anyway. In terms of doing one on our little wood here, okay, be very careful because I'm getting a whole bunch of paint crap all over it. What we're going to do is we're going to take this moccasin brown here, okay, and we're going to cover the wood. There's a reason why I'm doing this before I cover the wall. Okay. And so what we're doing is we're building up a little bit of a brown layer over our wood, okay? So you can kind of see where we've actually done it, okay? You can kind of see down here, which is where I've been doing it, okay, versus up here, which is still fairly dark, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to build that brown up, okay? Let me just show you what you do after that, because I'm kind of running out of time. Okay, because what you're going to do is then you're going to come back over and you're going to be very, very sparing with this. Okay, do not overdo this color, because if you overdo this color, it can really ruin the effect. And this is where I'm going to say that probably most of your stuff is going to go wrong. Okay, You want to get most of the paint off of the brush, okay? And then you're just barely going to touch, okay? And you want to come towards the end, okay? And you just want to touch. You just want to touch. I went a little bit too heavy-handed with it, but basically what we're looking for is aged wood, okay? And this is also a color that you can also do along in here, okay? And if you do it just right, you can kind of see those highlights really starting to pick out, okay? And that's what I did on this one. I did a very, very fine highlight of white over everything towards the end, okay? Just to give it that aged stone look, all right? And that's what you're gonna do. That's how you build up the color on the scenery here. So, smash that like button, hit subscribe, drop a comment below, let me know what you thought of the tutorial today. I know it was kind of a wild one because it was very, very quick, but as you can see, we've kind of created a really neat looking piece of terrain. It's not quite finished. When it is finished, I will show it off in another video. And, so I just want to know what you thought of it. And if you'd like to see more of this kind of stuff in the future, because I actually have some other pieces of terrain like the tower from Battle Masters, this thing over here. And I have some other stuff that I could do, that I could show you. And so yeah, we can kind of look at that stuff in the future if you want. So let me know down in the comments below what you'd like to see in the future. Probably when we come back, we will then take the techniques that we learned and we will put it on this pillar. And I will show you some interesting blood effects. And we'll go from there. So as we say, we will see you on the next one.